Chris Christie wants to lock up innocent Americans for saying they love Trump. Chris Christie wants to do to you what he did to the Kushner family. Big bad guy. Very fat, folks. Very fat. Loves to eat hamburger. And lock up innocents for loving Trump.
Classified documents. Now his supporters.
I love that, like I said. Trump's PACs are just basically funneling money. Basically funneling money into just straight up his legal defense at this point. It's just like any dollar that you give to a Trump PAC is going directly into his legal funds, which he desperately needs.
Are paying plenty for his legal troubles. CBS News confirms a pro-Trump PAC.
Is that legal? Yeah, of course, man. What do you mean? They're doing it on the... They're not operated by Donald Trump himself, guys. Come on. These are PACs. This is totally irrelevant.
Paid tens of millions of dollars in lawyer fees for Trump and his aides so far this year. Now, you may be surprised that does not violate, the campaign laws, but the number is having quite an impact. Robert Costa is with us from Washington with more on the story. Bob, good morning. What can you tell us?
Good morning to you, Gail. Former President Trump is pushing back hard against these latest charges, and Trump's allies believe he could face another indictment as soon as this week in the separate January 6th investigation being led by the special counsel. And Trump's rivals on the campaign trail, they're starting to hope that Republican voters will begin to consider them as alternatives.
You know, they're not indicting me, they're indicting you. I just happen to be standing in their way.
Former President Donald Trump was back on the campaign trail this weekend in two key primary states.
Most of these people just like repeat it because they're bots. They don't give a shit. They don't want to watch the stream. They don't want to like actually know what the truth is, because I don't even fault them for that, to be honest. Like, why the fuck would you care about whether a Twitch streamer who's like in their minds the richest person on the planet, you know what I mean? Why would they give a shit about that? They're like, yeah, fuck this guy, he sucks, he doesn't watch videos. Like, it's not the truth, but who cares? I love how these dog brains think they're actually anonymous. You see that weirdo posting a YouTube Shorts countdown of something he was planning, and I geolocated him, and now he's in jail. Plus, the date his countdown ended was on the first day schools are back in this country. All these stupid fuckers think they're so smart. Oh, yeah. I do remember that. I found you recently expected to disagree with you, but heard you out in good faith. I now agree with a lot of the points you make, and honestly have had to fight myself a lot of my previous beliefs I've held. Yeah, that's the point. That's the goal. That is my hope, that like out of all of the sea of disinformation that's directed towards me for saying the things I say and defending the positions I defend, I hope that there's at least like a bunch of people that are coming in to be like, wait a minute, I'm going to give this guy a fucking second chance. I want to know what this guy's about. What is this idiot doing? That's it. Is that all he's doing? He's just eating and watching videos?
It's defiant as ever.
If I weren't running, I would have nobody coming after me.
The Republican frontrunner slammed the new charges, which include allegations he tried to have his surveillance video erased after receiving a subpoena for documents. On Sunday, Trump posted to social media Mar-a-Lago security tapes were not deleted, and I never told anybody to delete them. Supporters who came to see Trump in Pennsylvania Saturday are standing by him.
It's political garbage, and I'm not going to swear, but that's what it is. They're just trying to smear his name, and it's not working.
But while the criminal charges against the former president mount, so do the legal fees. CBS News has learned that a public filing later today will show Trump's Political Action Committee, Save America, has spent more than $40 million on legal expenses for Trump and his aides on multiple legal cases this year. This as other Republican candidates try to break through. Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley argued it's time to move on from Trump.
I don't think he's the right president at the right time.
These guys have so much money I love that it's just like they're basically farming every Deborah and Barbara. This Reactgate stuff is unique though because it's not hogs. There's a lot of leftists on your ass about it. No, no one is on my ass about it. This is no, dude. Please stop talking about this dumb shit. Okay. Yes, it does make it way more annoying when actually supposedly quote unquote leftists are the ones who are yelling at me over some shit. But the article about how you were the top donator to the Amazon unions gave me the reason to actually watch your streams. I had always just believed you were a LARPer, as that's what a lot of people say online. I know, those are the fucking LARPers, and they're mad because I call them LARPers. That's why they call me a communist revolutionary or some shit, which is not something that I have ever said about myself. Anyway, the Reactgate people who are leftists or whatever are permanently online. They're just so fucking... It's like a child's issue, okay? It's like childish to make this an issue over and over and over again. It's dumb. All art is derivative. Every form of content has like one form or another is like ultimately engaging in transformative content over other people's art. I've talked about it a million times over. I don't really care what people say. You know, most of those people just have, like, again, petty grievances. One of the major people on this issue, which I will not even fucking name, is operating from pure petty grievances. Okay, that's it. People want to look like they're championing a cause that makes them seem right, that makes them seem like they're on the right side of a story, or maybe they personally believe it. Maybe they personally have like a serious issue with it. Or maybe they just do it for the love of debating. But I think it's a lot simpler than that. I think in most respects, it's just like, how can I throw shit at this fire and watch it burn? That's all it is.
Time going forward. I think we've got to move forward. Otherwise, we will have a general election that's doing nothing but dealing with lawsuits.
I mean, this thing is huge.
While in New Hampshire Sunday, Trump's closest rival, Governor Ron DeSantis, made his case to voters.
You're not going to be able to bring the administrative state to heel, to slay the deep state, to do all this if you have distractions.
Trump co-defendant.
He's so sexy. He's so hot, dude. Americans are ready for the sexy ass Rhonda.
Carlos de Oliveira is expected to make his first court appearance today in Florida in that federal case involving the mishandling of classified documents. De Oliveira, the property manager at Mar-a-Lago, is facing charges including conspiracy to obstruct justice and lying to investigators. Natalie.
All right, Bob, thank you. As Republican presidential hopefuls descended on
How did Righteous Ron become governor? You say he has zero charisma, but dog, how did he even get into office? First of all, Donald Trump. That's it. The only reason why he ever got into office was because of Donald Trump. Well, it's Florida. That's number one. And two, and Florida is insane. And two, he barely got into office the first time when he was placed in front of Andrew Gillum. It was an incredibly tight election. He won by a margin that was so close. And it would have been impossible. That election would have been impossible to win if what the ballot initiative that the Floridians voted for by a much larger margin, by the way, than little Rhonda, had actually passed beforehand, which is felon voter restoration, which of course he immediately instituted in the form of a poll tax as soon as he was made governor. But the only reason why Little Rhonda won was because Donald Trump gave him the boost. And even then, he barely defeated Gillum, who later was found to be, you know, a bit of a guy who enjoys meth. Andrew Gillum was caught with a male prostitute and a fuck ton of methamphetamine at Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami. That was the Democratic Party's like next up. Who's going to be the next Obama before this? They literally were basically building him as like the next guy, the next Obama of the Democratic Party.
Iowa this weekend, there was one notable absence. The candidate who has called Donald Trump stupid, a loser, selfish, a failure. And that's just the last couple of days. Republican presidential candidate and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie joins me now. Sir, it is always great to have you here on the program. So thank you for being here. And you just heard your competitor, Vivek Ramaswamy, say that he would still pardon Donald Trump, even after the special counsel charged him with seeking to destroy security footage in the classified documents case. Now, you, in addition to being a governor, were a federal prosecutor. And I'd like to know, when you look at this new evidence, I mean, is there a clear-cut case?
He's about to be like, I came after the Kushners and I won, and I'm about to come after the Trumps and win.
Of obstruction of justice here?
It appears that way, Casey. You look at it, it's pretty brazen. These guys were acting like the Corleones with no experience. I mean, the day after a grand jury subpoena is served, which includes the surveillance tapes, they go down to Mar-a-Lago. And Walt Nada appears to be the Fredo of this family. They send him to go down there, and they send him to go and delete it. This is bad stuff. And, you can't say there was no underlying potential crime here. This was the withholding of confidential, classified information from the government after 18 months of asking Donald Trump to return it voluntarily. Not only did he not return it, he lied about having it. This is not the kind of thing we could do. I want you to think, Casey, for a second about the potential effect on our troops and our intelligence officers by having this stuff just laying around and him willy-nilly showing it to whoever he feels like to be a show-off on the back deck at Mar-a-Lago. This is not what a former president should be doing, and it's certainly not something that someone who wants to be president should be doing.
And does it go to criminal intent? I mean, this seemed to suggest that...
Is he losing weight? I hope not. It's big boy season. Chris Christie legitimately has a better shot at winning if he's fat, if he's rotund. I don't like that a lot of these guys are losing weight. I don't like that one bit.
That Trump was aware. I mean, his defense has been, well, I can declassify whatever I want. This seems to fly in the face of that defense.
Well, first of all, I can declassify.
Not losing weight, just losing. True. Also true. But I think those two go hand in hand. What do I mean by this? Well, when you're losing weight, look at your poll numbers.
Whatever I want defense is not a defense. You can declassify whatever you want when you're president. You can't do it by thinking about it. You can't do it about mind melding with the documents. There's a process you have to go through to declassify, and he knows that. So there are no defenses in that regard here. Look, he's presumed innocent, but the bottom line is the government has made a very, very compelling case. And remember something. Usually the government only includes, at the most, about half of the evidence they have. And what's clear on the latest obstruction charges are they have a cooperating witness. Trump employee number 4 looks like a very, very important cooperating witness. So we now have people inside the Trump organization employed by Donald Trump who are testifying against him. And I think the next one you're going to see is former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows in the January 6th case. And I wonder what Donald Trump will have to say about that.
Fair enough. So let me ask you about the rally last night on Friday, the rally last night that Trump held in Pennsylvania. He called on Congress to withhold aid to Ukraine unless the White House cooperates with the Republicans' Hunter Biden probes, which seems to be very similar to what Trump got impeached for back in 2019. But he also had this to say to Republicans. Take a look.
They don't fight the way they're supposed to fight. The others are dirty, sick players, and the Republicans are very high class. They've got to be a little bit lower class.
Going to Erie, Pennsylvania, and speaking to a Trump rally as Donald Trump, saying Republicans are so high class is awesome.
Respect.
What's your response to that?
Look, he's not even clearing that bar. I want voters to listen to this. It is most likely that by the time we get on the debate stage on August 23rd, the front runner will be out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions: Florida, Washington, Georgia, and New York. Out on bail, Casey. I mean, that doesn't even clear.
Chris Christie, if you weren't a corrupt prosecutor, you would know innocent before proven guilty. Just because I'm out on bail doesn't mean I'm guilty. Chris Christie wants to lock up innocent Americans for saying they love Trump. Chris Christie wants to do to you what he did to the Kushner family. Big bad guy. Very fat, folks. Very fat. Loves to eat hamburger. And lock up innocents for loving Trump.
Here, the low class bar that Donald Trump. I'm running for president because I want to do the big things. I want to make sure that.
Yeah. He wants to do a big thing. Only big thing Chris Christie's doing is hitting the buffet, the biggest buffet, folks.
That we fix our entitlement programs. I want to make sure that we give parents educational freedom to decide where their kids go to school all across this country. There are big things that we need to do here to lower inflation and to create jobs that are good paying and help people to save money. And he's sitting there at a rally for.
I love that CNN's like, at the State of the Union, let's bring one of our co-hosts, which, by the way, Chris Christie is. At this point, he's been a television personality for like the past couple of years. Let's bring our television personality and co-host Chris Christie, who's polling at like minus 10%. Like, it's no different than having fucking Fareed Zakaria on and being like, well, Fareed, you at once, as a joke in passing, said you wanted to fucking run for the Republican primary. Let's hear your perspective. But have me on, man. It's like, the fuck are you talking about? Anyway. Love this shit.
2 hours last night talking about his own problems. This is a guy who's putting himself before the country. You can't put America first with Donald Trump because it's Trump first. And the proof of that, by the way, is for all those people who donated $25, $50, $100 to him when he was telling them in 2020 that the election was a lie and that he was going to try to reverse the election. All of those people we now know have paid over $40 million of their hard-earned money for a billionaire's legal fees. He is not enough of a stand-up person with his wealth and his big private 737 plane and all the rest that he has, and Mar-a-Lago and the Trump Tower and all the rest, and he's making regular Americans pay his legal fees. It's outrageous. It's beneath the job that he seeks to hold again. And he's going to be, let's remind him, out on bail. This is not the kind of person we want as our nominee because, by the way, Joe Biden will be the president again if Donald Trump's the nominee.
So you mentioned the big things.
Oh, Jesus. I think one of the best things he could say is that Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden. Not that he will lose to Joe Biden, because, like, my man, if Donald Trump's losing to Joe Biden, what are you doing? You know what I mean? What are you fucking doing to Joe Brandon? You're cooked.
And I want to ask you about that because the reality is there is some good economic news these days. Inflation is creeping down to 3%. GDP is strong. Consumer sentiment is on the way up. We have wages going up faster than prices. Do you think President Biden deserves any credit for that?
Casey, what he deserves credit for is the fact that everything is 17% more expensive today than it was when he took the oath of office on January 20th of 2021. Interest rates are at one of our highest level in 25 years, making it much more expensive for people to buy a home, to buy a car, to be able to invest in their business and grow it, to create jobs. This guy is the Jimmy Carter of the 2020s. And his inflation that he created, and don't take my word for it, Democratic economist, former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, has said that Joe Biden created this inflation.
Joe beat Biden. I like politicians who are more open with their corruptness, like Christie. I mean, he's not, though. You know what I mean? He's not. He was so fucking corrupt, but he never, like, flexed on his corruption in the same way that Trump does. You know what I mean?
Through his ridiculous spending. I dealt with this in New Jersey, Casey, after coming after John Corzine. We had an $11 billion deficit on a $29 billion budget. We balanced the budget by cutting 836 individual programs and did not raise taxes.
Is the inflation in any way Biden's fault? Yeah. Decades of quantitative easing and corporate consolidation that has created an environment so perfect for greedflation, which is when corporations get together and say, hey, fuck that. We're actually going to keep prices high in the immediate aftermath of a massive fucking pandemic that showed everybody that once the logistical issues were solved, you could still keep prices relatively high because people were willing to pay for it. All of that is technically Joe Biden's fault. Now, obviously, I'm not going to defend Joe Biden because, yes, absolutely, there is an aspect there that is his fault, which is countering greedflation. As president, you can utilize the bully pulpit better. He kept on tweeting every now and then like, look alive, Jack. Don't you fucking dare raise the prices of gas one more dime. Like, he would only say shit like that while he was also simultaneously giving the oil and gas producers everything that they wanted. You can also make the argument that he was there for all of those policies, whether it be monetary policy or fiscal policy. He was there when it came to monetary policy that obviously he didn't dictate the terms on, but still was there observing. Certainly a lack of interest in the fiscal side. These are all, in many respects, he is at fault just like every other senator is. He's at fault just like every other congressperson is. But ultimately, this is just the way it goes in the United States of America. And of course, there is not really too much you can do about it. There's not really too much one individual can do about it. I mean, but he didn't even, I think, fight hard enough against it. The issue is having an over-reliance on monetary policy to combat inflation is demonstrably not a very good way of doing things because you're not solving the problem. If inflation is happening due to greed and corporate consolidation rendering it impossible to fight back against that kind of thing, where corporations simply decide to raise prices because they think people will pay for it without any real need to raise prices, and the government, the legislative body that is tasked with fiscal policy, is not doing anything of that sort to cool the economy in a way that is meaningful, but not stagnation, or not creating stagnation or deflation. If the legislative body is not doing anything to punish, threaten, by way of antitrust legislation or any other tools that the American government has in their tool belt, if we are not doing any of those things, of course, we're just going to hyper rely. We're always going to rely on interest rates. We're always going to rely on interest rates going up or going down. That's the only way to control. That is the only way to control the flow of money and therefore the value of money, and maybe try to get corporations to to follow through on our desires, which hasn't really worked out all too well. There is, in my opinion, no difference between price gouging and greedflation. There's no difference between the two, but one is considered to be illegal. The other is just the regular order of business. And when the federal government does not take that into consideration and does not want to even raise taxes on corporations and continues along with Trump's massive tax cuts for the wealthy, massive taxes for the corporations, then ultimately it doesn't matter. And it is the fault of everyone in positions of power.
This stuff can be done, but you need someone who knows how to execute and knows how to do it. What the Republican Party voters and all American voters deserve are two things. The truth. The truth is not negotiable, and I'm not going to say something different on your program than I will anywhere else in this country. And second, they need someone who can deliver on the issues they care about, on the border, on Obamacare, on the national debt, on entitlement programs. Donald Trump failed on all those when he was president, even with a Republican Congress. Elect me president, and I won't.
All right, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.